Welcome everybody to SEO Tips for a New Economy with Austin Walker, CEO of Inbound Creation. I'm Christina Henderson, Executive Director of the Montana High Tech Business Alliance. This event is part of a series that the Alliance is hosting with resources to help our communities deal with the impacts of current events. You can find details of these sessions at mthightech.org/events. Our presenter today, Austin Walker, is the founder of Inbound Creation and a marketing instructor in the University of Montana College of Business, where he earned his MBA. After Austin's presentation, we will open the floor for Q&A with the audience. We would ask the audience to mute your microphones during the presentation until you have something to say, and then if you have a question or a comment, you can feel free to use the chat box during the meeting or turn on your microphone if you would like to speak. With that, I'll turn the floor over to Austin Walker to get us started.
Hey, thanks a lot, Christina, and thanks for everybody who is participating in the webinar today. Looking forward to going through this. I know there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of frustration with just not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, 6 months, a year from now. And, you know, I think this is a really good opportunity to actually invest in your SEO so that whenever we start moving beyond the pandemic we're seeing right now, that you're actually positioned to be on top of your competition rather than, you know, sitting in the same position you are. So let's go ahead and get started. I do want to say, if you guys have questions during the presentation, feel free to cut me off, and then we'll spend 30 seconds trying to remember where I was at. But we will take any questions during the presentation. So just an idea of what I'm seeing on my end from a marketing standpoint. I know we've got some other marketing directors on the call today, so they're probably seeing kind of the same thing. But because we have workers now at home, as well as people who are displaced workers, so spending more time online, one of the things that I'm seeing are more traffic with less conversions, mainly because people are shopping, but not necessarily doing as much purchasing. This is different between different industries. Like e-commerce is exploding, whereas someone like a restaurant might not be seeing the traffic that they once saw, right? One of the key stats I've been pulling was that 75% of people right now are shopping online at least once a month. So it's an opportunity for us, if we have a web presence, whether it be B2B or B2C, to actually get in front of our potential clients. As I said, different industries have been affected different ways. And I don't know if anyone right now, you know, are you guys looking towards what's happening next week? Are you looking towards, are we going to make it through next month? I know there are a lot of people that are going through the same problem. We're seeing it. I don't know if Christina mentioned, I'm the marketing director for Salt Lake City Bookkeeping as well. And one of the things that we're seeing is that restaurant owners, you know, any of the clients that we have, they are looking week to week, are we going to make it? Rather than, you know, they used to look at 3-month projections or one month projection. And at this point, we're focusing week to week to make sure that they can still make payroll. But so when it comes to the pandemic and any shakeup that we've had as far as across the industries, with problems, we create opportunity. And with the opportunity, we have more availability to create additional conversions and create new customers, as well as build value with the clientele that we already have, and either create products to upsell or even you know, just create more value in the products we already have. But the most important thing is we have to be able to identify those opportunities and then understand how valuable our solution can be. And then also talk to our current as well as potential clients and understand what pain points have been addressed through anything that they're feeling with the industry now. I wanted to bring up what we've done with Salt Lake City Bookkeeping in the last few months to address these things. We've made a hyper focus on retention and growth of our current clients versus new business. that had a lot to do with the type of industries we want to be a part of. But we also wanted to use the recession as an opportunity to understand which of our clients are actually helping us grow and producing the margins that we want to see, and then actually getting rid of the clients that we're spending a lot of time on that are either slim margins or ended up costing us money and just taking up too much time. And ultimately, what my goal has been is to create more value for the clients that we want to keep and give our current clients the ability to see additional services. One of the things that we've actually done recently is for restaurants is that for any of our clients that were getting updates month to month, we actually for free went to them and said, we're gonna update you every single week. So not only does it give them an idea of how valuable our service might be after we get through everything we're going through now, but it's also adding more value to the product because they're no longer making decisions on a month-to-month basis. Instead, they're looking week to week. Your first question might be like, why is this SEO? Well, the most important thing in that restructuring or trying to understand where we could be more valuable, we identified, number one, the key industries that we wanted to target, okay? And through different research methods, either phone calls or even just polls online, we actually started to understand what new pain points they had. For instance, restaurants have moved from mostly dining to takeout. And within takeout, it's really difficult to actually do books for Grubhub, DoorDash, or any of the other guys that are doing that. It actually gets really complicated really quickly. So we were able to understand what pain points they had. And now we could create specific targeted campaigns for the different pain points that people were searching for online. That way we were able to bring in the better customers that we know we wanted. And then we could identify different keywords that if we choose to actually go through pay-per-click, which ones are going to have the best return for our dollar. You know, we're looking to stretch our dollar just as far as anyone else. And then ultimately, I've been working to optimize SEO for these new pain points and the keywords that we've identified as buying keywords, and which ones are converting the best. And then we're getting rid of content and getting rid of traffic that is ultimately just coming to, you know, float around the site and ruin my metrics. So one of the things that we've been doing is focus on adding and building value with anything we have. Shoppers are anxious about the future and they're looking to stretch their money as far as possible. So ultimately, building value in the products and services that you have, you're not only helping them now, but you're helping them in the future. And at any time we can actually go to our clients and make their lives better, they're going to reflect with either staying with us longer, or when they come to that first round of cuts, we're not going to be in that round. Maybe not the second, maybe not the third, but ultimately building as much value and changing their life as much as possible in order to make sure that we change their life for the better. So one of the things that I've been doing for the SEO practices that I've been working on, we've been focusing heavily on researching and understand where those pain points are. And we use that through online polls, online surveys, and I've actually ended up calling a handful of our current clients, as well as identified people that we'd like to work with, and just understand exactly what they're seeing and how a service might be created that would help them more. For instance, because restaurants have been moving to more online ordering and food trucks are actually becoming more popular, and dining inside, restaurants have had to cut their revenues by 50%, 60% just to make sure that they were keeping to guidelines for coronavirus. So instead, we've had to help them. They want to learn how to expand their revenue, grow their revenue, and with that, they've been doing online ordering and food trucks. So ultimately, what I've been focusing on is creating video content addressing their issues, the new issues that they face by expanding their services to online ordering and stuff like that, and then write about how our product and service may help change their life. For instance, like I had said before, with online ordering, books become extremely messy. So they're really struggling to be able to keep on top of their books. What they used to do just doesn't work anymore. And then basically we're helping them identify how they can actually use their books once a week to make strategic decisions that will actually get them through the pandemic. And I think it's really important and vital for anyone on this webinar to make sure that you're going to your clients, as well as looking at your website and understanding if the clients you have that you really like and are doing well for you, to identify how you're helping them and why you're helping, or what services are helping them the most, then going back to your website and optimizing for those different pain points. All right, so now we'll jump into a little more technical SEO now that we've got kind of the overall arch of the marketing strategy that's going to help us drive through the new economy. One thing that is really important to note, Google has over 200 ranking factors. The number 1 and number 2 ranking factors, they won't tell us which is more important. But number 1 is backlinks and number 2 is content. If you've heard this before, this is really the only information that Google regularly shares, is that we've got 3 ranking factors: backlinks, content, and rank break. Beyond that, they're pretty secretive about what actually creates a good rank. But ultimately, if you ask me, you can't have a backlink without content. So it becomes very vital to the success of any marketing campaigns that you're running that the content you're producing is extremely valuable. The backlinks come after that. If you have valuable and shareable information that's valuable to either influencers or your own customers, they might share it in their network and get you a backlink. Just to make sure that everyone understands as far as what a backlink is, this is the thumbs up to Google that your information is super relevant and is actually valuable to someone else. A backlink is created when someone posts content and creates a hyperlink from their content back to your page, just to make sure everyone understands that. But one of the things we've been focusing on is creating victories, small victories leading to big gains. And what I mean by that is, going back to our site speed and, maybe adjusting it by even a 100th of a second, or, focusing on small victories like optimizing our content better, or actually boiling down and understanding what can we improve that's going to give more value to our clients, and then optimizing our landing pages for, sorry, I skipped a spot there. Going to our content and understanding what is actually valuable, and then producing content, optimizing our landing pages for one keyword, and then building campaigns to those actual landing pages. Anyone have any questions so far?
I do actually. This is Christina Wiles. Just a quick question, that bullet about optimizing landing pages for one keyword. I'm interested in that. Can you just give a quick example of what that would look like?
Yeah, so when we say optimizing for one keyword, you might actually have you might have 30 or 40 keywords that are actually pushing traffic to that landing page. Let me flip my screen here. I'll show you. All right, we got all this here. So when we're talking about optimizing for a single keyword, one of the things that I do is go and actually analyze what type of keywords are drawing a bunch of traffic. In this case, I pulled up bench.go because they're a direct competitor to Salt Lake City Bookkeeping. And I'm actually using this in an example later on. But one of the things that Salt Lake City Bookkeeping has done really well is we actually rank number, well, I'm not gonna pull this up here, but we rank #1 for restaurant bookkeeping. And if we actually go to that landing page, you'll notice that we have the keyword several times on the page. All the content is directed towards things that are restaurant bookkeeping, but to say that there's one specific thing that's going to help us rank for a single keyword, it gets kind of messy really quickly, because ultimately what we're trying to do is make sure that every bit of context within our content actually focuses on either answering the question that the keyword is addressing, or ultimately helps someone more with whatever pain point they might be feeling. I feel like I might not have answered your question very well. Did that work?
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Let me get back here. All right. So I do have, let's see if I can get the chat box here. I actually do have 2 links I wanted to share with you guys. I don't think I have the chat box as long as I'm, so here are those 2 links. This has been one of the most valuable resources I've found when it comes to understanding SEO for either inbound creation or for Salt Lake City Bookkeeping. Brian Dean has been the backlinking expert for at least a decade. And so the slide that I was showing just a second ago, and to answer your question better, Christina, you guys see that again? Good? Yeah. Shoot, am I sharing the wrong? Sorry, guys. Here we go. When you're asking how do we go about optimizing a landing page for one specific keyword, ultimately you're going to look at this and go, oh my God, 200 different ranking factors. Well, one thing that Brian Dean actually did in this list was went through everything that we kind of know about what factors are actually creating, bumping up people's rank. And he went through all these different factors and actually identified how much of an impact it might actually make. Okay. So this is a really helpful resource, and I use it often to just refer back to understand what else I can improve. And obviously there's also a lot of audit tools that you can use, like Uber Suggest. What's another? I mean, there's a couple different resources online. I'll have to think of them as we go here, but you can check to see how well a page is optimized, and they'll generally give suggestions as to how you can improve. So all of those ranking factors, one thing that we have to understand is Google's business model and their mission to really understand all of those ranking factors and why they're important. And the #1 reason is that user experience is Google's most important mission. If they create a better experience for any of their online users, then their users are going to come back and utilize Google again, because they trust that the results Google is going to produce are going to be the best answer for the problem that they're seeking to address. So when you're thinking about how to improve your SEO, the #1 answer is to provide a better experience for your traffic. That might come through images, video, faster load speed. They have access to mobile versus just desktop. All of those factors play into that same thing of making sure that the user that is using your website is having a great experience. And you see that within competing pages. So Google will actually drive traffic to two different pages to understand who provides ultimately the best experience. And the person who's going to continue to rank higher is the one who's going to keep someone on the site longer, and they're going to find the solution to the problem that they had. So the ultimate question that you always want to ask is, is this good for my traffic? And if the answer is no, then it probably doesn't even need to be made. So one of the tools that I use is Hotjar. This is my website here. And one of the things that I'm actually monitoring for is that within the page, people actually, first off, I'm looking to see if they're actually directing somewhere or if they're just falling off the page and basically bouncing. One of the things that's really cool is I noticed our hottest click here is actually through services. So people are actually interested when they land on the page for our services. But you guys can actually use Hotjar. It's a free tool. And not only do we have different metrics as far as who is clicking on what, you can actually see how far your traffic on average is scrolling down your page. Now that's really valuable because you can understand then, first off, are people even looking at your content or are they leaving? If they're just leaving, either we have traffic generating to the site that doesn't necessarily belong there, or we might be ranking for the wrong stuff, or we just don't have a very great experience on the site and they either lose interest very quickly or are just looking for a different solution. But like one of the things that I evaluate within any of these, the heat bubbles here, is if I know I can't do it actually on the page right now, but if I were to scroll down and see that I have a call to action, like the learn more button here, if I have a call to action that's not being clicked on, then I'm wasting space on the site and might be losing traffic off the site. So that's going to eventually start bumping down my ranking and my competition is going to beat me out. So like I say, Hotjar, that is a free tool you can use for up to, I think, 2,000 traffic a day. So, I think I've kind of beat this one in the ground, but ultimately our content needs to be valuable if we want people to utilize it. And the reason why valuable content, it needs to be quality over quantity. And the reason why is it's shareable, and if it's valuable to someone, especially an influencer, they're going to share it with their audience. That creates backlinks, which is ultimately going to help us continue to move up in the ranks and gain more traffic within search engine results. Oh yeah, so one of the ways that I actually look for examples of really great content, I actually use tools like Ubersuggest and SEMrush. I'm just going to show I'll just show Ubersuggest because it is free to use. SEMrush actually costs a little bit of money, so just pull that up here. All right, so one of the things that I can look at is what type of content a company is already building that is already doing well for backlinks and driving traffic. Say like my competitor, Bench, we can actually look at the different type of landing pages that are already ranking well, or we could actually go in and type in something like restaurant bookkeeping. And we're going to see the content that is already doing well. Now, let me tell you, as a marketer, I used to scratch my head all the time for different content piece suggestions and trying to like produce content quickly. And I spent, I don't know how many hours just sitting there trying to understand. Just remember, you don't have to start from scratch. Looking at what your competition is doing and what they're doing really well, not only do we have if we produce something that is as good and then a little bit better and is more valuable, not only do we start seeing our rankings improve, but we start stealing traffic from our competitors. So as we start talking down the road about starving your competition, this is one way that I rely on competing even with bench.co, who's got venture-backed funds, and you know, they're pretty powerful when it comes to their website presence. But you know, this is actually SLC Bookkeeping here, but I can also see if we have any backlinks to the site. We actually do rank #1 for this. However, we have an opportunity if I can create backlinks to that site. So, so yeah, this is a free site, Uber Suggest. Check it out if you'd like. So the thing about backlinks, these are extremely difficult to get. And for anyone who's done any sort of outreach for backlinks, it can be a pain in the butt. You're emailing 100 people, nobody responds, or you're on the receiving end, which I know a lot of business owners who actually receive these emails all the time asking if somebody can post on their site or if you'll share my content on your website. And even for SLC Bookkeeping, I probably get 10 asks a day on this. And it probably feels like any sort of outreach is just going to be pointless because it's so messy and there's already so many people doing it. But ultimately, one of the best ways to get backlinks is to actually create content not for your traffic. And this is really important because a lot of times companies want to produce content that is going to be good for their potential customers. They have sales in mind. But if you're trying to create backlinks and get traffic onto the website for a specific keyword, instead you write content for influencers, okay? And you can actually use a tool like, oh my gosh, I never switched back to the slide, did I? I'm sorry. There. And you can actually go into Uber Suggest and look for opportunities that are interesting to influencers, as well as if you've identified influencers on YouTube or in anywhere within blogging or on Twitter, you can actually find people and see if they'll share your content. There's ways to warm up those influencers so that it's not necessarily a cold, you know, you're not necessarily cold calling them, but I don't really have enough time to get into that. But ultimately, one of the biggest issues that I see with any of my clients, they produce this really great content and then they don't spend any time promoting it. I promise there aren't going to be a lot of people that just somehow trip on the content that you're already producing. You have to reach out and promote to influencers, put it on your social platforms, within your newsletters, or you can even do the old-fashioned way of sending via email and letting people know about it. Now, one of the reasons I say invest in SEO right now, we are moving into recession. I'm pretty sure the feds have said that we are in recession at this point. I know a lot of clients that I have, as well as clients of theirs, they're starting to feel that pain point. You guys are probably feeling it as well. Recession is an opportunity, especially when it comes to focusing on search engine optimization and actually boiling down the traffic that we don't want and only bringing in the traffic that we do want, the stuff that converts, the people that we're actually going to make sales with. Your competition hurts just like you do. They have the same pain points going on. They're probably struggling just as hard to find customers, but they might be the ones making, oh, we're going to cut out marketing, or we're not going to invest in this. We need to make cuts here and there. Well, that's an opportunity for you to identify the challenges in your industry, provide either valuable content or give them better tools, whatever it may be, within your web space, and ultimately help them overcome those problems. Now, if we focus on SEO during recession, what we're really hoping to do is make sure that when we move out of recession and back into a growth economy, you now have gone over your competition and are outranking them for the uptick in traffic that we will eventually see when people are starting to spend more money. And ultimately, if your competitors are getting more business than you right now, especially online, obviously online, you have an opportunity to actually take business when we start on the growth end. They didn't invest in their SEO during the recession, you did, and now you're positioned to be above your competition when it comes to the new traffic coming in and the new money that people are willing to spend. So here are the things that I would invest in. Extremely valuable content, whether it's self-produced or you outsource. Optimize landing pages and build campaigns to those optimized landing pages. Create backlinks in order to increase your position and ranking within search engine results. Conversion rate optimization is just looking at the conversions you've made and improving whether the traffic coming in is poor or whatever. And then ultimately another one that's really simple you can actually do for free, or to utilize business directories, which are free backlinks. If you go to yelp.com and create a link, an account, they make a link back to your page. And I think I'm done for time here. So, whoops. I think this was just an example I had for e-commerce, but we'll go ahead and move into questions here, and I can actually just do that. I could maybe send that out following up to the webinar.
Thanks, Austin. Yeah, we'll open this up to the audience. What questions do you have? Maybe things that are specific to challenges your organizations are facing, or anything at all. Either type in the chat or unmute and throw out your question.
Christina, you had sent me some questions in an email here at the beginning.
Yeah. I have questions.
Okay.
I'm in this space right now of trying to improve our SEO, tap additional traffic, and figure out better ways to promote the content we already have. So one question I have, you've mentioned a few tools. For those of us that are going to be working on this ourselves, what are your favorite tools? There are, as I've researched, there are literally hundreds of options of SEO tools out there. What are your favorites? Maybe you can double down and explain more about some of them you've already shared, or are there other tools that you would recommend?
Well, I'm fortunate enough that the company, Salt Lake City Bookkeeping, we have HubSpot. So there's a lot of data that I pull in there, but ultimately Hotjar is one of my favorite SEO tools because I can understand what experience that my traffic is having. And if I can understand their experience, I can also identify opportunities for, where can we improve? What am I doing poorly that I can do better? And if I go and make adjustments and test, say test a new call to action or something like that, I can increase the amount of clicks going to my landing pages and ultimately converting. So Hotjar is a really good one. Let me look at my bookmark here. I'm trying to find an SEO audit tool because right now I just use one within HubSpot. They basically tell me what should be improved in order to increase rankings. Uber Suggest is good to understand, I guess, some of your keyword research you can do for free if you open up a profile there, just to understand if the niche keyword that you're targeting is actually going to draw some traffic, as well as if your competition is already utilizing it or not. So Uber Suggest, Hotjar, those are the two that I brought up. Maybe I could follow up in an email to everyone in the webinar, just with some tools, because I just can't think of them off the top of my head right now.
Related follow-up question within Google Analytics itself. So that's, Google has a whole range of tools available for
Mhm.
folks with websites. But which information within Google's analytics tools do you pay the most attention to, or would you recommend people focus their attention on?
I like using basically understanding the flow of traffic within the site. And let me pull up specifically what that's called. So if you go into your acquisition and behavior metrics within Google Analytics, you can actually see how traffic is moving through your website, which gives you an idea, is someone landing on your web page and then going off to your services page, or is most of your traffic going to your blog? But it can also show you most of your traffic is coming to your homepage and then going away. That's a big issue. If you're losing 90% of your traffic on the homepage, you probably haven't identified, or you probably haven't answered the question that they came to the site with. And you need to be able to start navigating them through your website better to capture more leads from the traffic that you're drawing. So I use acquisition and behavior, as well as look at the keywords that a lot of people are coming through. But unfortunately, analytics over the last few years has gotten really secretive about their keywords, and you get something called not set, it's in parentheses. And it's basically either someone is hidden in their search, or we're just not allowed to actually get that keyword from them. So the information as far as keywords, I would go and use like Ubersuggest to identify keywords that people are using in the space. But for the audience flow and the acquisition, so where your traffic is coming from, should you go and reward one of your referral partners, or is most of your traffic coming in through organic? So yeah.
Related question, Austin, this is a field that, as long as I've worked in marketing or been paying attention to marketing, it changes constantly. What are the resources that are your go-to sources for keeping on top of where things are at now and what you could be doing? Do you have bloggers or podcasts or books that you recommend?
Kind of a mix of things. I actually use a lot of content from Neil Patel and Brian Dean. I like Brian Dean because he actually runs a bunch of tests. So for instance, one of the links that I sent in the chat there, I get asked sometimes, oh, is page speed really important? Well, he actually tested page speed to see how his content would rank against itself. He took a piece of content that was ranking really well, made it super heavy and run really slow. I think it was like the average upload time was 16 minutes. So I don't know a piece of traffic that I would ever, or a piece of content I would ever wait 16 minutes for. So he actually went and tested it to understand whether page speed is really all that important. And ultimately, I think he found that no, not really, because he was still ranking really high for that piece of content. So yeah, Neil Patel and Brian Dean are what I get in my emails, but I also utilize YouTube a lot, mainly for the fact that I don't know everything when it comes to every new thing coming up, or even, a challenge that I hit where it's like, I want to update this landing page in HubSpot, and then I hit 7 snags in trying to go on the back end and make an adjustment. I go to YouTube and type in the problem that I'm facing, and in general, I will get some sort of step-by-step.
Awesome. And we can also, I had some folks asking in private chat the names of those bloggers. So when you send us your list of resources, we'll include the resources that Austin has mentioned today as well. Another question I have, so you and I were talking a few weeks ago, Austin, and you had warned me about a possible violation of Google's rules that I might have stumbled into.
Yeah.
Um, and we often talk about like black hat and white hat SEO, and most of us try to avoid like, the things that are clearly not clearly are frowned upon by Google because we don't want to get banned. But what are some of the biggest things that you see that folks might inadvertently stumble into that we should watch out for?
Yeah. So Google actually outlines their policies very clearly. And this is how they say any manipulation of Google rankings is against Google policy. And anything that does that is black hat. So what do? Just post content and, okay, I hope it works, right? Yeah, no one's doing that. However, things that can actually get you shut down are doing things like reaching out to someone and say, hey, I have this piece of content and I'll pay you $100 to link to me on your website. The moment that Google figures out that you're doing that, they'll completely shut you down. Manual actions. One of the things Google Search Console does now, if Google takes a manual action against your website and basically turns your traffic off, they'll actually tell you when they do that, which is awesome because they didn't do that a couple years ago. They would just turn it off, and when you call, I don't know what's wrong. We can't tell you. So you'd have to figure it out for yourself. But yeah, so sponsored links will do it, as well as trading links. And just remember too, I imagine most people in here, if you have an email account, it's probably through Gmail, right? Don't think that Google isn't sifting through your emails and reading whether you're sharing links with someone. So sharing a link is reaching out to someone and say, hey, if you post this on your link, I'll give you one too. Not only can they read the messages in Gmail, but when the crawlers come through, they'll actually see that you have two links pointing to each other, and you'll probably get penalized eventually.
Austin, we have a great question posted in the chat. I want to make sure we have time for. You emphasize quality of content. Is it your belief that customers notice frequency of new content, such as customer story of the week? Or do you favor the greatest hits approach of things that the most people have told us they have found useful? And this is from Peter Coffey, who just popped up.
Yeah, Peter, I might have to ask for a little bit of clarification there. So are you asking me if it's important to be frequent, or what do you mean?
Timeless.
Huh?
Timeless. That would be the short form answer. I mean, quality is obviously key, but what I'm wondering is, do you have the sense that people who routinely visit a website notice and appreciate frequent refresh and a relationship to customer stories, or do you favor more like the accumulating library, where the most important thing is that the person who needs an answer to a question finds it?
Ooh, well, that's a good question. So I haven't had an issue with frequency. However, excuse me, as far as like scheduling out at 9 a.m. every Tuesday, because let's say with the bookkeeping firm, honestly, I'm not looking forward to my bookkeeping newsletter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, just like I was joking to Christina, on YouTube every Monday, sometime earlier in the morning, my favorite channel posts a new video. And I know that, and it'll actually trigger me on Monday. I'll be like, oh, cool, new video from these guys.
Yeah.
So as far as like making it some sort of, we have to post at 9 o'clock every Tuesday, I don't think that's going to matter that much. And I haven't seen any evidence to support that until you have a established subscriber base. Then they might have a little more, like
Okay.
if you were 15 minutes later.
So plot spoiler, the answer is going to be, it depends. It's going to depend on the type of business, the degree to which you depend on repeat business as opposed to, relatively one-time business and so on. So, okay, but an important consideration to think about, what kind of quality is it that you're trying to deliver to whom?
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I had said in the presentation, it's quality first, because value is what keeps someone on your site.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a great point to end on. We are at the end of our time. I want to thank Austin and everyone who attended today. Again, a recording and a transcript of today's presentation and the related materials and resources will be available on our website and also will be emailed out to everyone who registered. So thank you again for joining us and have a great day.